Hi there, it's Jillian from Greenland Garden Centre, and this evening we're going to take a lovely stroll through Doug and Lois's garden, and Doug is here to tell us all about his design and all of the beautiful plants that exist here. Okay, so here we are. Obviously, you've got this incredible water feature.
Thank you.
And you have all of these beautiful sitting areas. Would you mind just talking us through perhaps this little sitting area? I know that there's a really interesting story, so why don't you tell us about it?
Sure, thank you. So the fun part about this yard is Lois and I started by building the creek, but then to put the plants in, we would go out every Friday night to some garden center, lots of it at Greenland Garden Center for sure, and spend about $100 and buy plants and then come home and try to figure out where to put the plants. So we really didn't buy it because it was a shade plant or anything. We just started to learn to do that. So part of what we discovered is that there were warm parts of the yard, there were different lights parts of the yard, and this particular one here we call the last light of the day deck, and also the gin deck.
Yeah, nice.
Because we have a low slope roof, the sun sets. This is the last part of the sun in the evening, and so it's just a nice place to sit. Okay, so let me tell you about the tree behind you.
Okay.
So the fun part in the yard is as we started to plant trees, we decided we would name them after people. So the one behind you here is a Thunderchild crabapple, and that's named after Shannon, which is Lois's youngest daughter, and she's a Thunderchild, so it works. The next one here is a larch.
I love this larch.
That's actually my tree, and part of that is because I love the larch in terms of the feel of it and that type of thing, and it's got a lordadic spine just like mine. It's just kind of crawling up there.
Okay, so this truly is a labor of love. We've got this really almost like a chasm. Do you want to explain what this is about and how it led to this?
When I was adding on to the house, I knew that I wanted to do something with a creek, but I really didn't have a lot of fall in the yard. And so when we did the walkout basement here, I had the fellow take the dirt and put it in the corner. So if you look up there, the hill becomes the start of the creek. And so that was pretty exciting. And so what that allowed me to do is have all of these different waterfalls as it comes through the yard into this last spot here. And to me it turned out really well. It's very much a part of sort of the flow of the creek.
How many waterfalls did you say you have?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's say 10.
Nice. That's fantastic.
But it's part of the. You can sit here and you've got a little bit of fire, as we saw earlier, and you've got the sound. Like just listen. Do you know you're in Sherwood Park? Look around. Do you feel like you're, in an old district in Sherwood Park? No. So in every yard as well, people have things that are dear to their heart. So when Lois and I were traveling in Germany, we found this spigot from a beer keg, and it's from the 1800s. So this kind of thing is, just sort of subtle, but it is reminds us of some of our travels, and it kind of fits into the yard. Now, you got to be careful because it's pretty easy to get kitschy and bring too much stuff home. And so we try not to do that. And Lois is really good at saying.
I think you guys. No. I think you're more cool than kitschy, though. I can run a little kitschy. This is cool. Okay. Oh, and tell us about this
Yeah,
Lovely.
so this is my little Charlie Brown tree. So when I first bought the house, there was a Manchurian elm tree here that was just like these ones over here. It was over the neighbor's fence. It was over our house there. And when I started figuring out where to put the creek in, I realized I wanted to actually put the pond here. So we took the tree out, and the rock is actually sitting on the old stump. But the challenge was, it actually took me 3 months to dig the hole because there were so many roots in there. In fact, when we were doing the renovations on the house, we had to run a sewer line. We cut the concrete. The roots from the tree were underneath the basement floor.
It's pretty.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
But
so what is your Charlie Brown tree?
it's a maple, and I don't know what kind of maple. And this is the first year in 14 years, it's been there for 14 years, that it's actually grown.
Yeah.
Because when you were here last,
Yeah.
it was a little smaller, but it really keeps its own size.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. It's one of those things that I sort of thought, well, there's a rock, now you need something behind it to kind of make the rock feel protected and show it off a little bit
Yeah.
in terms of color.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun.
Neat.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've turned ourselves around. There's just so many different angles and so much to see. But I believe you wanted to introduce me to this your cherry.
Yes, so again, in the theme of naming all of the trees after somebody in our family, I'd like you to meet Jacqueline.
Hello, Jacqueline.
She is a gorgeous tree. This is an Amur cherry, and the fun thing about this tree is the actual bark. In the rain, it looks amazing. Great winter interest.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of fun. I'd like to shift over to this side actually.
Okay.
This actually gets a bit of early light, a bit of afternoon light, and then pretty much shade after that. So some of the plants in here, it's quite subtle actually, is the Solomon seal.
Yep.
Solomon seal is a really cool plant because it can be in full shade or part shade, or this is I would call part shade.
Okay.
So we've got some Solomon seal through here. The other plant is one of my favorites, is the Joe Pye weed, because it actually grows well as a perennial.
Yeah.
Right from the ground. In fact, this area here, if you were to come in the spring, what you'll see is rocks.
Yeah.
You won't see any plants at all.
Yeah.
It's just a bed of rocks.
Yeah.
And so this is the exciting part about perennial plants. And so these will bloom in the fall, and they actually go as high as the roof, and they get a big purple flower on them.
And the goat's beard is gorgeous. Is it
Yes.
just fallen out of blossom now?
That's
but
right.
that beautiful white fuzzy flower.
It is. It's really ethereal. And so we first got introduced again on our Germany trip. We saw in someone's garden in a courtyard. He happened to open his gate one morning, and we look at it and say, "What's that plant?"
Yeah.
And so I have quite a bit of goat's beard throughout the yard. But again, you'll see that it loves it the most here, because as we go around, we've got small ones, medium ones, and large ones like this. So the nice part about this that I'm happy with is your yard takes a few years to mature. So this area here, the plantings in here are probably about 5 years old now. And so what you can see is sort of you don't see the individual plants anymore. You see the texture of all of the plants together. So the fun part is the astilbe will get quite bright. This is a pink one and a red one. And then the stone crop here is a nice purple flower, and again, it complements the Joe Pye weed.
And that lasts really well into fall too.
And I have lots of pictures of that with snow on it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of fun to learn the stages of what blooms. So it's not all blooming at once and you're done.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of neat.
You always have something to enjoy. We've heard a lot of the stories as we tour through your garden, and we've come now to this beautiful gate that you've built. can you tell us the story or the legend behind this, please?
Yes.
Okay.
So we found that this was the shadiest part of the yard, albeit that this is south facing. And it's shady because of all of these big trees, right? And so I've always been interested in an Asian shade garden. And so I started researching just all about it and that type of thing. And what I noticed a lot is this type of structure, and so I started to research it. So this is a traditional Japanese torii gate, and what it does is you can see that you have to, I've got plants on both sides. These are Technicedars.
Yes.
And the Technicedar is actually a little sidebar.
Yeah.
They're the strongest cedar in our climate here in Alberta.
Yeah.
So if you want to pick a cedar that's going to last, pick a Technicedar.
I got 2 of them in my yard.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
So the fun part about that is what I've done is by putting them here, it actually forms that I want to discover. And so first of all, the inscription here in Japanese is love and respect. And for us, that's what we created as the family mantra with the grandchildren.
Yeah.
And they totally get that idea, and we actually talk about that all the time. And so what the idea of a torii gate like this is that when you walk in there, it's very calm. So as we look at that in a few minutes here, you'll find that there are no potted flowers, no bright flowers or anything like that. Just shade plants that do actually bloom and flower, but very subtle.
Yeah. And do you find everything just goes?
Yes, you do, because this is also the shade.
Yeah.
So if it's very hot out and you want to come and just relax, we've got another sitting area here, and you can come and discover it with me.
Okay.
Okay.
I look forward to it. I'll follow you. So now that we're in your shade garden, do you want to just talk about the feeling here and the water feature?
Yes. So as we did walk in, it was interesting to hear you say that this particular area does make you feel more relaxed.
Yeah.
You get a nice water sound. Nothing's too showy. There are no annual pots of, bright flowers or anything like that. Everything in here is a shade plant.
Yeah.
And so one example is this particular tree is actually a muckle plum, but it's not getting enough light. And so eventually we'll probably replace it with something else. The gates, the boardwalks are very typical of Asian features. So I did everything I could to try to follow the Japanese tradition of very angular, no big curved lines or anything like that. And so in the future I will put lilies in here, which will be kind of nice. And again, some of these plants here will bloom, but this is nice to have ferns, again Joe Pyeweed. This particular plant over here is the goat's beard again, like the one around the corner. And again, it's showy in its own way, but it's not a bright pop of red. Or
no, it's
any
all
of
white
that kind of
and greens
yeah.
and just simplistic.
Yeah. So the thing about this part of the yard is it can be a beautiful hot day, and you can come in here at any time of the day and you just feel it. The temperature is very different here, and you can sit casually, have a drink or something like that and chat, and you just feel very different in this particular area. So all of these trees and that kind of stuff not only provide shade, but they kind of close it in and make you feel kind of protected. And so it's nice to get different spaces throughout the garden.
And that's interesting too, because in this garden there's so many stories and so much to look at and think about. And here it's just very minimal, and you are protected by things that have just been and they're aged and wrapping you like a hug.
Yeah.
So it's just cooling you,
that's a good
comforting
way to put
you,
it.
and you don't have to think about much.
Yeah. So thanks for giving me the opportunity. This has really been a lot of fun.
Well, thank you.
And it's starting to...
I know it's just starting to rain now.
It's starting to be very cool in our shade garden.
Yes. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed this visit and listening to all of your knowledge and all of the stories. And I'm sure I could come back and probably enjoy new stories and more knowledge.
I would love you guys to come back.
Yeah.
I think it's fun because there's still lots to discover. Maybe even pour you a cocktail.
I'm always up for a cocktail.
Okay.
And I do